In this video, we will discuss about the functioning of natural killer cell or the NK cells. NK cells are the part of immune system and it can work not only in the innate immune response, but it can also helps in the adaptive immune response. And innate immune response is the first defense line of the immune system. So how these NK cells get activated? These NK cells get activated by sensing this tumor antigen and this major histocompatibility complex, or in the other terms it can sense this induced self and the missing self, and the ratio of this induced self and missing self determines the activation of the NK cells. That is, if the ratio of this induced cells by missing cells goes up, then it will activate the NK cells, and if the ratio of the induced cells by missing cells goes down, then it will leads to the deactivation of the NK cells. In the recently or previously, NK cells has been a one of the approach to activate NK cells uh, in different kind of cancers, for example gastro intestinal cancers. In that case, the activation of NK cells, since it takes part in both the innate immune response and the adaptive immune response, it will increase the immune response of the host that are affected by these cancers, such as gastrointestinal cancers. So let us understand how these NK cells work and what are the different areas in which these NK cells can be improved. So I have already discussed about the recognition part, that it will get activated based on the ratio of the induced cells by missing cells, and once it get activated, it can release the granules such as this granzyme B and perforin, that might leads to to the tumor cell death. And apart from this release of these granules, it can also impact using the receptor interactions that will trigger that signaling pathway within the tumor cells. That is, FASL or trial receptors interact with the FASL and trial ligand receptors. FASL and trial ligand on the NK cells react with the FAS trial ligand receptors on the tumor cells to trigger the that signaling pathway. And apart from this, it can trigger using this uh, cytotoxic that antibody cytotoxic response, in which case the antibody such as the CD16 will interacts with these tumor cells and trigger the cytotoxicity within the tumor cells. It may lead to the death of the tumor cells. So these are some of the ways by which these NK cells can act upon these tumor cells, and this is categorized as direct cytotoxicity. It can as previously mentioned, these NK cells can also influence or enhance the adaptive immune response in a way that these NK cells, once it is activated, it will release the cytokines through the cytokine receptors, and also this CCL3 and CCL4, and this will helps in the activation of the dendritic cells and the recruitment of more dendritic cells. And this dendritic cells, the more activation of dendritic cells will uh, leads to the leads to the activation of more this CD4 plus T cells or CD8 plus T cells through this interactions of these antigens with the help of this through the interaction of these tumor specific antigens with the help of the major histocompatibility complex on the dendritic cells and the T cell receptors on the CD8 plus T cells. Apart from this interactions, it will dendritic cells also release interleukin 12, and that will also help in the upregulations or activations of the CD8 plus T cells. So in this way, the NK cells is related to the enhancing the adaptive immune response by modulating these dendritic cells, or by modulating maturation of the dendritic cells. So these are some of the ways. And however, in the case of the tumor stage, the tumors will quickly or easily adapt a mechanism to evade such kind of NK cells response. And in order to enhance this NK cells response, presently Several studies are going on, and some of the studies has shown positive response. uh, some of the studies about activating these NK cells shows positive response against the tumor cells, and one of the studies is that these NK cells can be taken out from the host cells and activated ex vivo and against transfused into the host. That has shown increase in the amount of immune response against the tumor cells. However, these studies are still under consideration, or these studies are still at its initial stage, and they needs to be developed before it can be used commercially. So I hope you got an idea that how these NK cells functions, and one of the approach by which these NK cells functioning can be improved. If you need to understand more about this NK cell functioning and how they act against the tumor cells, you can go through the reference that has been provided in the description. That's all for this video. Thank you for your time.